Yes, we are live, and today is the final live session on the Back to School webinar 2025. I am excited, and I can tell that you are too. We've saved the best for last. This is one of the most anticipated sessions when it comes to um, enhancing our children's academic success. So today we're going to be looking at how to collaborate with your child's teacher with the end goal to build or create that right learning environment. Remember that what makes the environment right, the rightness of the environment is determined by its safety and how well it motivates the child to learn and to keep on learning even beyond the classroom walls. So we're going to be having our guest speaker coming on shortly. Mr. Clarence will be with us in a few minutes, and we are going to take off. We're hitting the ground running today because we want to make the most of the time that we have to spend together. So please stay glued to your screen. Let someone else know on the forum that we are already live, right? Whether you're on the Back to School webinar forum or you're on the DR Tribe, the elite community of parents. Yes, right on the forum that we are live. Draw someone else, literally drag someone else to class this evening because they are going to thank you for doing that by the end of today's session. Mind you, the best is always, the best is always saved for last. At this very last session, we are going to be gleaning all that we can to equip you so that you can go be that secret ingredient. You can go, take action based on all the knowledge that you've acquired as we round off on our sessions on this journey. So please let someone else know we are live. Let me hear you in the comments. Remember that you can and you should make use of the comment section. Ask your questions as we go. Do not wait for the end before asking your questions. All right, keep asking, keep the comment section buzzing. Let's ensure that we are learning actively. Don't come here and just sit at the back like, I don't know. Don't be the president of the background committee club. Get to the front, interact, make the most of the session. All right, I see we have just about three of us here. I'm hoping that by the time our guest comes on, the numbers are going to grow because we need to, make the most out of our time here together this evening. All right, so any moment now, our guest speaker is going to be here. But meanwhile, I'd like to know, right? Did you listen to today's lesson? What was the highlight for you? All right, don't just be the kind of learner that just hears, gets excited, and just jumps off. But what are you making of today's lesson? What are you making of today's lesson? What was the highlight for you from this morning's morning coffee? And if you don't even know what I'm talking about, then that should be your cue to go back and listen. Remember that it's all connected, right? Everything we are sharing day after day on this webinar series is all connected. It all comes together, to build the full picture. So if you're skipping certain lessons, thinking that you're only going to pick some, listen to some, and not listen to others, then you are missing out on a lot because every single thing comes together to make a beautiful picture. All right. So make sure that you're not skipping any lessons. The lessons are designed to be, to help you easily go through them. So make sure that you go back, catch up on the lessons that you might have missed, ask questions. All right. Don't sit at the back, and stay silent with your doubts, stay silent with your questions. You need to be able to realize that you should be asking questions. I'm sure we all have children who are either attending school at one level of the academic ladder or another. So, and the challenges are different depending on where your kids are on that academic ladder. So don't hesitate to ask questions as we go. All right, so I'm going to put up the slides while we wait to receive our guest. Not sure if he's here already. Right, I'm hoping he's here any moment from now. Meanwhile, please drag someone else here to class. If you're here from, the DR tribe in particular, let me hear you go back to your accountability forum. Let your forum members know that we are live already. Why are they not here? So To get someone else to join you on board, the more the merrier. What was the highlight for you from today's lesson? You listened to today's morning coffee. What was your highlight this morning? Let me hear you in the comment section while we wait. What has been the highlight for you so far on this journey? What has been your highlight? All right, I think we our guests might probably be having some difficulties coming on board. I've not been able to. Okay, he's here. Great. All right, so our guest is here. We are going to just jump right into the session. We want to ensure that we have lots and lots of time at the end so that we can take questions and we can interact based on what we will be shared in a few moments. So we are going to welcome, we have here with us Mr. Clarence Banla. He is here as our esteemed guest speaker, an experienced educational leader, passionate about quality education, passionate about ensuring that our children get the very, very best that is due to them on their academic journey. He'll be sharing with us, his insights on how to help us parents collaborate better to be able to create that right learning environment for our children. So please pay attention. Don't forget to note your questions in the comment section because at the end of the session, we are going to take questions. So, Mr. Clarence, you're welcome. Introduce yourself and just jump right in while your slides are coming up.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Jane, for having me once more. Uh, I remember we had a great time last year or last
Yeah.
session, and it's a pleasure for me to be here again this year to continue in this mission of sharing and uplifting parents as far as purposeful parenting is concerned. So I
Yes.
am very happy to be here and I am optimistic that we're going to have a great sharing and learning time.
And positive. All right, so I'm going to put up your slides. Once again, you are welcome. Last year was hot. I think that's the best phrase I can use. I think that the parents last year
Yeah.
they left fulfilled, they left. We got lots of feedback at the end of the academic year from the parents that took part in last year's webinar, telling us about how they were able to productively interact, collaborate with their children's teachers. They were more involved on their child's academic journey. And so it was a win-win. So I'm hoping that today is going to be, you're going to take us even further, right? 1 year has gone by, lots of knowledge, experience has added. So we're looking forward to learning from you this evening. I'm putting up your slides now. You're just going to give me a cue when you want
Okay.
me to move the slides as you go along. All right. So feel free to let me
All
know when you
right.
want me to.
Okay. All right. Um, so I know Dr. Jen must have introduced me already. Uh, I am a primary school teacher and administrator, and I've been there around the children around primary school for over 12 years now. And it's always a pleasure for me to have a platform as this to share one or two things that can help parents better relate in a more productive way with the schools, with their teachers with the teachers of their children, because that is very, very, very important. And tonight, we'll be talking on something that is very, very close to my heart. Something that is very, very close to my heart. And I have seen that as the backbone of every holistic success, every thing that has to do with the holistic progress and evolution of any child has something to do with it. And I am going to say it, putting things the way they are. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything or make you feel good about yourself. I'm just going to put it straight as it is. And how parents and teachers can truly work together to bring the best out of the children is what we are going to be looking at this evening. And in our culture, they say that it takes one man or it takes a couple to bring forth a child, but it takes a village, a community to raise that particular child. But in modern times, we are seeing something which is almost contrary. It seems as if this village, this community is sleeping. It seems as if this village is sleeping and not actually performing its duty. I remember some years ago, whenever a child made a mistake, he was disciplined by the community. A neighbor could walk into someone's, or a member of the community could move into another member's house and discipline a child for wrongdoing. But nowadays, we seem to care less. Now, we'll look at why this collaboration between parents and teachers matter. The challenges that parents and teachers always face when it comes to collaboration. And then we'll look at practical ways that we can collaborate as parents and teachers. So we can leave here tonight with something that we can start doing immediately, especially as we are about to resume the new academic year. All right, second slide up. Okay, why parents teacher collaboration matters. Why or parent teacher collaboration matters. Now, when a child comes to school, they don't leave their home habits or the habits they have cultivated at home at the entrance into the school. They don't do that. They carry everything into their various classrooms. Imagine 30, 40 children in a classroom. The teacher receives different habits. If there are 40 children, the teacher will receive 40 habits in a day or every day. And a teacher can teach, but the child's foundation comes from home. That foundation comes from home. And the results or the success of whatever the teacher does in school is dependent on the strength of the foundation that has been laid back at home. So that collaboration between parents and teachers is very, very important. Very, very important. Because the success or the fruitfulness of one person's effort depends a lot on the work already done by the other person. In my many years of teaching, I have seen two children in the same class, same teacher, they use the same books. But then, one of these children thrives, the other struggles. And the difference was not intelligence, but the level of involvement from home. So when you look at it, you realize that left to the parents alone, the child will not do well. Left to the teachers alone, the child will not succeed. So there must be that synergy, that close collaboration between the teachers and the home, the teachers and the parents. Now, studies and even our classroom experience show that when parents are involved, children perform better academically. They perform better academically, socially, and emotionally. One of the mistakes that parents do make, and even some teachers make nowadays, is that they judge the growth of a child only based on academics. They don't do an all-round evaluation of the child's performance. They only look at how the child is performing academically. They don't see if the child is growing or if the child is improving attitude-wise, if the child can interact with others, and many of those things that we ignore. Trust me, if your child can only perform well academically, but yet that child is a social misfit, the child cannot interact well with other children, with other community members, even with you as the parent, then there is something lacking. There is something lacking. That means that child is not receiving a holistic education. Now, nowadays, when you talk of quality and inclusive education, you must add holistic education to it. One part of the child should not be growing while the other is crippled, while the other is limping. So this is something we have to be very serious about. It is something that is very important. collaboration between the teachers and the parents. Very, very important. Slide 3, Doc. We'll look at these shared goals. The parents and the teachers have a shared goal. They have a common mission. There must be one in mind and one in heart, one in action. They must be together. By virtue of the fact that they have that child between that child being placed in their lives, they are condemned to work together. It is not a matter of choice. Whether you like it or not, you are condemned to work together. You must not like me. We must not be from the same tribe. We must not reason the same. You must not like the shape of my body, of my hair. You must not like the way I talk. But because of the interest of that child, we are condemned to work together. That is why you as a parent, when you are going to school to meet a teacher, you as a teacher, when you are meeting a parent, you must be open-minded. You must have an open mind, which is free of any form of bias. I always tell my colleagues and the teachers I work with that in this era, a teacher must strive to be a global citizen. A citizen who is not tied to a particular tribe, to a particular race, to a particular religion. Same as parents. Parents must learn to be global citizens who are not tied to a particular mentality, to a particular tribe, to a particular religion, and what have you. If we can let go all those biases, then only can we look at the future we are building for our children with a common lens. With a common lens. Education can be likened to building a house. And each and every person partaking in that construction has a role to play. A carpenter has a role to play. A plumber has a role to play. A bricklayer has a role to play. An electrician has a role to play. Thus, the education of our children can be likened to build the act of building a house. All of us must put hands together, must have a common goal, a common vision, and we must work together to see that we succeed. Now, parents give the foundation to this building. And what is this foundation? This foundation is discipline. It is not the school that instills discipline in the child. No, it starts from the house. Parents start inculcating discipline in the child from the house. So at times I find it very funny when parents are bringing the children to school and saying, this child does not listen to me, this child is very stubborn, I want you people to help me. No. It starts with you, the parents. From home. The school is there now to reinforce, to build on the foundation you have laid. The second ingredient that the parents use to build, to fortify this foundation is values. Values. For example, respect for elders. That's one of the values. Honesty. That's one of truthfulness. Obedience. Those are some of the values that the child should be coming from the house, already immersed in them with the help of the parents. The third thing is encouragement. Encouragement. Let the child feel encouraged before coming from the house. Some of us are fond of labeling our children as failures even before they ever set foot in school. I always tell my parents, especially when I have the opportunity during meetings and probably during closing ceremonies, I tell them, when your child arrives the house with his or her report card, the first thing you have to do, regardless of what the child's report card says, is to congratulate that child. Offer that child words of encouragement. Encourage the child. And you can, with love and kindness, point out the weaknesses of the child in such a way that the child will be motivated to work on those weaknesses. Before your child leaves the house to come to school, on a daily basis, speak positively about that child. Speak positively. And when a child comes home with his or her report card, do not judge the child based on the grades written in the report card. Also make your own judgment. The child has not performed well academically according to the report card. But what about the other aspects of life? Is the child growing in the other aspects of life? That can be a pass. It can be a pass. And it's something you should encourage your child about. That is how we, the parents, can contribute in building a solid foundation in the lives of our children, in the education of our children. So it is the responsibility of the parents to build that foundation. And then the teachers, on their part, now try to build the walls, raise up the other part of the house through what they do in school. This, our shared goal, is not just to raise children who pass exams. No. But children who can stand tall in life, morally, mentally, and emotionally. While collaborating, we should have that as a common goal. We are not only raising children who perform well in exams, no. We don't want to raise intellectual devils. We don't want to do that. That's why at times I'm embarrassed when I see some parents celebrating their children for passing in list A of the common entrance examination. Meanwhile, they are aware that these same children that are celebrating for passing in list A normally should have failed. These are the same children who cannot even spell their names. Why do they pass common entrance list A and go and fail interviews in secondary school? Why? There is a problem. Because when they go to examination centers, they are allowed to copy, to practice examination, to carry out examination malpractices by cheating, by copying from each other. Even some examiners write on the board for them to copy. It is a shame. And we, the parents, celebrate, and we, the teachers, celebrate. Then do we have a shared goal? Do we really have a shared? Is that the type of goal that we have? Is that the type of shared goal that we should have? Is food for thought. It's something we should reflect on. As parents, as teachers, is that how we want to collaborate? If we are to collaborate that way, then believe you me, we are building on sand. We are building on sand. And the waves, the wind can just come and pull down the building. This bringing down the building can be likened to what our children become in future. Let us have a shared goal, meaningfully, a meaningful goal, which is not only about the child passing exam, but making sure that the child develops morally, mentally, and emotionally. A child is a tripartite being made up of 3 different parts: the mind, the body, the soul. Next slide up. That is slide 4. All right. Now, while making an effort to collaborate as teachers and parents, there are always some common gaps and misunderstandings. There are always some gaps that I believe that with effort, with time, with patience, we can cover them up. And one of the biggest challenges we have in teacher-parent collaboration is assumption. Parents and teachers at times assume a lot. Some parents think that, or they just assume that once they pay fees, once they buy books, in fact, they have done everything that they are supposed to do. And then the teacher is left now to sort out anything that has to do with the child. I've heard some parents say they are paying huge sums of money as fees, and then they still ask them to follow up the children with their assignments and other things, and they are wondering what the teachers are doing after they have paid such huge sums of money. If you are a parent here and that's the kind of mentality you have, then please, you need to repent. You need to repent, because paying the fees of your child is just doing like 1/10 of what is expected of you. It's just doing 1/10 of what is expected of you. There is a lot of work you still have to do. And then, on the side of the teachers, some teachers feel that parents only show up when there is a problem. To an extent, it is true. But then, it is an assumption which might not be true. Not all parents show up when there is a problem, no. Some parents show up because they are really intentional about the education of their children, and they want to follow up to know how they are progressing, how they are faring in school. So to the teachers who are here, parents don't only show up when there's a problem. You might have had maybe a few instances where parents show up simply because a child went back home and complained that maybe the teacher did this, teacher did this to me, and so on. But then teachers should also understand that parents don't only show up because they want to look for problems. And at times when we have that at the back of our mind, that parents only show up because there is a problem, or when there is a problem, then we will always approach them with a biased and closed mind. With a biased and closed mind. Or because a parent had approached you, had come to you once because there was a problem, the parent is coming now the second time, and you believe that, or you just feel that this parent is coming again with his or her problem, with his or her wahalas or so. Now, that's an assumption which can at times widen the gap that we are fighting so hard to close up. You know, there are some parents who actually come to school only when there is problems. When you call them for anything, they don't come at all. They don't. And that is why we are failing. And that's why we are failing. And once some of us start looking at school as a place where they are supposed to help our children to pass exam, then we will not see any need going to, collaborate with the teachers who are teaching our children. There is a lot that you get to find out about your child when you visit the teacher of your child. There's a lot you get to find out. See, some of our children are like cats in the house, but you need to see them in school. They are like tigers. They are lions. They are feared by their friends. You might be thinking that you know your child when you do not even have an idea what your child is or who your child is. You see maybe a strong child at home, but when that child steps foot in school, that child becomes a pumpkin, a vegetable, weak. What is happening? That's why constant collaboration. There might be an underlying problem that's eating your child up. Your child might be bullied in school and you don't know. And then you see a smart child at home, a jovial child at home. But then, what happens in school? What happens? So it is very important that we close up some of these few gaps that come up as a result of assumptions, negligence. Let's close them up and always look for a common ground. Always look for a common ground by doing what? By listening to each other. By listening to each other. One of the things that breed misunderstanding is the lack of the ability, the willingness to listen to each other. To listen to each other. We must do that. We must listen to each other to foster a sense of understanding, to find common grounds as far as the education of our children. Let go your ego, let go your pride, let go everything. At times, it is very sad. It is sad that some parents actually come to school and they belittle teachers in front of their children. And they'll be like, look at this one, whose salary I can even pay. Such statements that belittle a teacher who is burning midnight candles, doing all he can to make sure that your child is well educated, should be something we should refrain from. If you have ever done that as a parent, if you have ever spoken like that to a teacher who has done everything, or who has done nothing wrong but to teach your child, I think you owe that teacher an apology. And you need to repent from that attitude so that you don't know what you might have caused that teacher. And if you repent today, you will not repeat that mistake tomorrow. Make a commitment not to do that again. Next slide up. Okay, what then is the role of the teacher? What then is the role of the teacher? The first role of the teacher is to teach effectively. Effectively. It is not just to teach, it is to teach effectively. A teacher knows what it means to teach effectively. There's a difference between just teaching and teaching effectively. There are some teachers nowadays who just teach. Because probably they just want to be paid at the end of the month. They are not committed. They don't care whether the child is formed or not. Those teachers who do not teach effectively are the first to transfer an aggression, maybe from the parent. A parent has come and has spoken to them, maybe in a very harsh tone, and then they take it now, transfer to the child. I've had situations like that, where a teacher neglects a child simply because of the differences she had with the parent of the child. We have even had situations where two teachers are in the same school. One of the teachers has in the other teacher's class, and because they had a misunderstanding, the teacher ignores and neglects the colleague's child simply because of that misunderstanding. It is sad. It is sad. In this era where collaboration is a must for quality, inclusive, and holistic education to take place, teachers must have to sit up and play their role effectively. The second role that a teacher must play is to give feedback to the parents, to the school administration. There must be feedback. There must be feedback.
Time is gradually gaining on us. You have about, normally you're supposed to be rounding up, so
Okay. All right. So the teachers must have to always keep in touch with parents to give feedback on how their children are faring. That's why in most schools now we have WhatsApp class fora, and where parents can easily, teachers can easily communicate with the parents of their children. It's easier nowadays to give feedback to parents than it was years ago because of the advent of different communication channels we have. And then the next thing that the teacher has to do is to offer guidance. Some parents do things out of ignorance. It is the place of the teacher to guide the parents, to let them know what they are supposed to do, what they are expected to do. And that must be done with kindness and with love, with respect and with a mature approach. Next slide up. And before we go to the parents' room, I just want to say something. If you have had a problem with a teacher as a parent, please know this today. A teacher is not an enemy. A teacher is a partner. Is your partner. Is a fellow collaborator with you in your child's education. Now, let's go to the parents' role. Parents have this first primary role to check homework. We are not saying that the parents should do homework for the child. No, the child can do it, and maybe the child is facing difficulties. You can step in to guide the child, to check, just to check if the child has done homework, or simply just asking, "Have you done your homework?" is enough to help the child. Because trust me, the work of the teacher becomes difficult when children go back home or go take homework to the house and then come back without doing the homework. It makes the teacher's work difficult. Sometimes it's difficult for the teacher to assess the child. Secondly, parents should attend meetings. And when you are attending meetings, attend meetings with a positive contribution, with positive contributions. Prepare before going to any meeting. Sometimes it is sad to see that some parents go for PTA meetings and the only thing they're interested in is what have they prepared for us to eat? How many bottles of drinks have they kept for us to drink after the meeting? That's their main focus. Or they focus a lot on how the school is spending money, and they will never ask anything that has to do with maybe the welfare of their children. Are they well taught? What is the quality of teachers teaching our children? Do we have quality teachers teaching our children? Do they have comfortable classrooms? Do they have enough facilities that can help them to acquire education that can enable them compete even globally? Those are some of the things that we neglect, and then we go and we are fighting over trivial issues that have little or no effect on the education of our children. So, come next academic year and beyond, let's be parents who attend meetings with purpose. With purpose. Putting the interests of our children ahead, at the forefront, not our self-interest. Third, the parents must reinforce values. Remember, we said that one of the ingredients of that the parents can use in building a solid foundation in the lives of their children was to inculcate in them some values. So when you inculcate, you must reinforce. You must reinforce to make sure that the child does not depart from any of these values. Constantly remind them. And then the fourth role that parents must play is that they must learn how to communicate with their children openly. To be honest, there might be some parents here who've never sat and had an open communication, an open discussion with their children. Their children are afraid to even open up to them, even when they have problems. So parents try to create that atmosphere which encourages open communication with your children. Let your children not be afraid to tell you anything. Some of the mistakes our children are making is because they lack someone to talk to, or they talk to the wrong person. Meanwhile, if they had talked to you, if they had communicated with you, if they could communicate with you openly, they would have been saved from those mistakes. All right, next slide up. So practical ways, we look at practical ways that we can collaborate. Practical ways, collaboration. Now, can we have the next slide? Or is my time up? Okay, so practical ways of collaboration. Collaboration does not have to be complicated. You must not do big things to show that you're collaborating with the teacher of your child. No, collaboration can be in just small yet consistent actions. Small yet consistent actions. You can create a cordial relationship with the teacher of your child. Please, some parents have this very bad notion, or how can I call it, mentality, that when you are visiting the teacher of your child, you must go with something like maybe money or something to give them. No. You are not going with something to give the teacher to show that you are collaborating. No, that's a wrong approach. You do not owe a teacher anything. You do not. If you do that, it is out of your own likeness. You decide to do that. So you must not visit your teacher, the teacher of your child, with something. That's a mistake we are making. And the teachers are not supposed to be expecting anything from you when you're coming to visit them. You can decide and have a schedule with the teacher of your child. Maybe he knows that you can be, you people always talk about the child, probably weekly, it could be bi-month, in a fortnight. You talk about the progress of the child, and so on. Then, I remember one teacher shared something with me. He said one parent started sending him weekly WhatsApp messages asking, how was his handwriting this week? And then within 1 month, they could see a visible improvement in the child's handwriting. Why? Because the teacher became conscious. Let me be checking this child's handwriting. This parent is constantly asking. Every week, how is the handwriting? The child had a problem with the handwriting. So the parent kept asking every week, how was his handwriting this week? This is something you can do. You know where your child is lacking. And we must try as parents to encourage. We must try to be consistent and not perfect. You might not be there all the times, but make an effort to always, to always check with the teacher, to always communicate with the teacher, to always find out how your child is doing. It's very important. And how can we overcome the challenges that we face? How can we overcome those challenges that we face in collaborating with each other, as parents and as teachers? The first thing we must understand is that in this age and time, parents are busy. That's the truth that we must accept. Parents are busy. There is a lot to catch up with. But even 5 minutes, of quality time, quality attention can make a difference. Can make a difference. So one of the challenges we face in collaborating with the teachers of our children is the hustle, the busy nature of our schedules nowadays. A lot of distraction. A lot of distraction. There is TikTok, and parents are so immersed in some of these social media platforms, and in fact, they're busy, either with work or with what entertains them, but just 5 minutes, just a text, just a call. If you've never had the phone number of the teacher who teaches your child, please, this is a new academic year that is about to start. Repent. Try to have it. Try to keep in touch with the teacher of your child. 1 minute. Don't call a teacher for long. No. And when we visit the teachers in school, we should make it brief, because they have to meet up with whatever they have to do during or in the course of that day. They have to meet up with it. The school expects them to do that. The children are in class waiting. So when we go, we should be as brief as possible. In my school, we have a culture where we have an open door week where parents can come to the class and talk with the teachers to know how their children are faring. We have a form that we try to see where the child is, weak and where the child is strong. We do that 2 times in a year. The second time we are coming, we are seeing if there is an improvement based on the evaluation we made the first time. So you can always go by. And I know some schools have rules that you follow. You must go to the administration. They must give you permission before you can see a teacher. Always follow that. It is not complicated. It's something we can do. It's something we can do. It's something we can do. So when these open days come up, when some of these things come up, please, let's try to attend. We should try to attend. And then some say that I didn't go to school much, so how can I help? How can I help a child? No. It must not be something big. A word of encouragement is more powerful than you think. More powerful than you think. Don't let your level of education limit you from collaborating, from playing your own role as a parent, so that the teacher's role can also be played without any problems from the failure on your part to play your role. You must not be knowledgeable. Some of us might not have gone to school to understand, maybe, like some parents are PhD holders, but they cannot solve primary school mathematics. It is understood. It is understood. It is understood. But then what have you done? What effort have you made? And on disagreements, if you disagree with a teacher, try and settle it privately. Settle it privately. Don't settle it in front of the children. Don't shout in front of the children. The whole school must not know that you visited the school. They must not know. Settle it amicably with the teacher, respectfully. The teachers should do the same with respect. And you see, children have a way they think, they reason, that some of us At times we undermine and we overlook. Children lose respect when they see adults arguing about them. Maybe we don't know. They will lose respect for you when they see you arguing with their teacher about them. Same as for the teacher. So we have to be very careful. We must be very, very careful. Next slide, Doc. Now, when teachers and parents work together, there is always a reward. And the reward is better results. You see it manifested in the lives of the children. You see it visible in the way the child carries him or herself, in the things the child do. So we must collaborate because we know there will always be these rewards. And first of all, the reward that we see in the performance of our children. It improves discipline. It improves discipline in our children. And then we build a stronger community. That's why in my school, we don't just refer to it as a school. We call it a learning community. We are a learning community where all the educational stakeholders of the school have a role they play. Have the role they play. Both the learners, the teachers, the administration, the parents, the community. So we refer to ourselves as a learning community. And we hold each other accountable. And when we do that, when we collaborate, we stay stronger. They always say that united we stand, and divided we fall. But when we come together, it is difficult for us to be broken by external forces and some challenges that may surround us. So we must do everything possible to build this strong community. And I would like to challenge all of us to try and adopt one habit as the academic year is about to commence. Should adopt one habit. It could be, we should start this week. Let's start this week. Maybe you have not been building the foundation of your child. Start doing that so that when schools are resuming and your child is going back to school, he goes back to school better than he has always gone. And you can commit to one habit every week or every month. Do something and take an actionable step. Don't say that I will. Start today. Start today. Parent, teacher, when we come together, the child's success is unquestionable. There is no iota of doubt whether the child will succeed or not. When we come together and collaborate, trust me, we must have succeeded in doing the most, in having inclusively educated children, holistically educated children, and children who can boast of quality education that can enable them to compete even on a global stage. And to round off, just this one phrase: when parents and teachers walk together, when we journey together, children run further. When we walk, when we journey together, our children run further, ahead. They go ahead. Thank you very much for your keen attention. And if you have questions or maybe contributions, then I think I am done. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Clarence. Yes, it was indeed an insightful session. I'm sure that the parents have gleaned a lot. For those who have habitually attended the back to school webinar, this is just a refresher of those habits that you had imbibed. And for those who are just joining in, I'm sure that you have picked up or you have identified maybe the areas where you need to reinforce your strategy. You need to do better to enable you build a better relationship with your child, with the class teacher. One of the things that I always tell parents is the fact that your child's teacher is a very important member of the village you're building around your child. All right, because it takes a village to raise a child. Your child's teacher is a very important member of that village that you're building around your child. Your child's teacher is a parenting partner, and it takes understanding for you to be able to know how to navigate the difficulties. There's something he said that stood out to me: the fact that you need to prepare yourself to be a global citizen. I'm going to share a brief story about something that happened in my kid's school when my last was in the nursery section. When he was in nursery one, he had lots. There was a particular teacher in his class, the assistant, the second teacher, that was very difficult. She made life difficult. In fact, she would hit the child. She would do. I had to go to school several times because of her. And I always try to resolve my negative emotions before going there, regardless of the things she did that triggered, that would have triggered very harsh reactions from me. I tried my best, remembering that she's still part of his environment. I needed to approach with wisdom. Lo and behold, for nursery two, I step into the class, and who is going to be his primary teacher, his main teacher? It was the same lady who had been promoted from nursery one to nursery two, and she was now his main teacher. But the good news about her is she actually turned out to be his best teacher that year because we were able to communicate effectively. I never built any negative emotion or never caused any friction. I always approached the mistakes she was making with grace. And when I met her in nursery two, we collaborated so much better. So it's very important that you manage your disagreements. Mr. Clarence is having a problem with his network. If there are any questions, just kindly drop them and we're going to take them. If not, then we're going to call up the session. Great. I think he's back. Please feel free to share your questions, ask any questions you might have while we give a few minutes before we answer. All right, let's see if we can take a few questions before we answer. Remember, you never know where you're going to meet your child's teacher again. So even when there are disagreements, you need to approach them with grace. And I love the fact that he said, sometimes just call to encourage. All right. If you don't have your child's class teacher's number, I don't even know. You can't collaborate without that. I think the technology we have today has made collaboration much, much more easier. Unlike me, you don't always have to do it. My strategy is to go to school in the first month every week. As the months go by, I reduce that to bi-weekly and then once a month as the school year advances, when everything is settled. But until I get to know the teacher, establish a relationship, I keep going, going up. Thank God my kid's school permits that. You can show up after school hours. As school is closing, you're free to show up with the teacher at any time you like without any kind of formal permission. So we do that apart from the the parent-teacher meeting outside of to correct after the sequences have been given. So if there are any questions, feel free to ask. I think we are all good. I don't see any questions coming up. I don't know if it's because the
Okay.
session is lagging behind for so many parents. That's why I personally advise that we drop our questions as the session is going on. Mr. Clarence, what's your position about
Yes,
monetary gifts and gifts in kind to teachers in the course of the school year? What would be your advice on how to help parents understand how should the collaboration always have an incentive, right? And how should parents approach this particular issue?
taking into consideration human weakness, I would advise parents that if you want to appreciate your child's teacher in maybe monetary or in kind, I would prefer you do that at the end of the year. The very funny situations we've had to deal with is you realize a teacher might not want to favor your child, but because of your constant gifting, I will call it unnecessary though.
Mhm. Ah, I think he's having some network challenges. Okay, he's back.
Yeah. So I was saying that I would prefer that the parent does that at the end of the academic year because we have had situations where teachers, due to their human nature, they might develop a soft spot for the child due to the constant giftings, the gifts they receive from the parents, maybe like every term and
Mhm.
so on. And due to their human weakness, they fall for that and start having some giving their children some preferential treatment.
Yeah, extra marks.
So to me, if a parent must do that at the end of the academic year.
Yeah.
Come at the academic year to say thank you. If you must do that, you don't actually owe a teacher any gift, just a word of appreciation, just to say thank you. I see what you have done. I think should be enough to even boost the morale of any teacher.
Yeah.
I
Thank
think
you for that.
that's my take on it.
Exactly, exactly. Very on point. So personally, for me, I do not do monetary gifts because I would want to see my child's true potential. Another dilemma we have in our current, I don't know, society is this aspect of extra lessons, where you have many parents. In fact, sometimes the teacher is even trying to coerce you, the parents. Oh, let me give your child extra lessons. And one thing that is coming to my notice more and more is the fact that I don't know about other schools, but for some of the schools my kids have been to, the kids who are usually topping the class are also those who are having extra lessons. Now, this could be because the child's actually getting extra help, but then there's also the potential where the teacher might find themselves in a position where they are trying to enhance or ensure that the parent sees the need for the lesson by giving a little extra that helps the child get ahead. I think I was sitting beside parents during my kids' closing ceremony last year, and there's this particular parent who has three kids, and all three of them were in the top three, and all three of them had extra lessons with the teachers of the class. So each time the child gets a prize, the teacher comes and gives the parent high five. So it just felt staged. It just felt like, well, it could be that the child, but I think that what would you advise parents when it comes to needing help? Would you advise how can a parent be able to detect that their child's performance might be enhanced because of the kind of situation where they are maybe in a kind of relationship with the teacher where they are probably paying for some extra service? How can a parent assess to know that this is not my child's potential, or there's something else that is added to it because of what you're obligated to do?
All right. I think one of the realities we face is that some
Ugh, network. Okay, while waiting for Mr. Clarence to come back, I think we have come to the end of the session. If he's not able to get back on in the next 2 minutes, we're going to have to shut down because we have gone above our 1 hour mark that we usually set for sessions. If you have any question, you can always drop them and he's going to get back to us at a later time. I think his network, okay, he's back.
okay. Can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. In their neighbors, they equally have an extra lesson teacher for their children, and they just say, let me also get a teacher for my child. Or the child sees the neighbor's child with an extra lesson teacher and comes and mounts pressure. And then, because some of us parents, we want to do everything maybe our children ask us to do, they go ahead to look for a teacher without any reason at all, not as if the child has any difficulty. But then our advice that first, as a parent, before you go to look for a teacher for extra lessons for your child, know the problem the child has. Understand the difficulty or the problem you want to solve.
Hmm. Okay, dear parents, I'm sure his network signal has gotten really bad. I'm grateful that we have been able to get the juice from the session. We have to shut down here for the sake of time. We've extended far below. Thank you so much. We're going to have our final lessons tomorrow on the different platforms, and we're going to have a question and answer session to close the back to school webinar over the course of the weekend. So please feel free. See you again tomorrow morning when we get our morning coffee. Bye.